How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to episode 24 of the Sick Podcast with your boy, that Leafs fan. I hope you guys are doing well. The Leafs were inches away to losing that game yesterday and continuing the streak until Austin Matthews. Before we get into any of that, producer, roll the tape.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With that Leafs fan.
They score! They score! Holy mackerel, they score! Morgan Riley! Mo Riley! The Leafs have won it! They're going to the second round! Do you believe this? Holy mackerel!
The sickest Toronto Maple Leafs podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Well, luckily, the Toronto Maple Leafs finally end the 4-game losing streak and find a way to get the W last night. And it was all led from Austin Matthews, number 34 of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Wow, that was... Before I get into the game, by the way, can we take a moment to recognize how insane the Toronto Maple Leafs challenge team is? Like the guys who decide, we're going to challenge that call, challenge the goal. It took me the entire replay. I'm talking about, so essentially, to those who didn't watch the game, the Toronto Maple Leafs, let's get into the game first. I am all over the place. The Leafs head into Calgary on a 4-game losing streak, desperately needing to win. If the Leafs lost that game in regulation, they would have actually fallen out of a playoff spot because the Capitals won. They have a higher ROW, tied in points. They get the tiebreaker. Tampa Bay also won, putting them at 51. So if we lost this game, we were actually outside looking in. So we needed it. And they start the first period terrible. Down 2-0 in Calgary. We're getting dominated. We had nothing going for us. Flames just overall the better team in the first period to start the game. And then enter Austin Matthews. This is why this entire episode, I'm warning you now, is 80% of the content is going to be Austin Matthews, just letting you know ahead of time. He single-handedly put the Leafs on his back and they won the game. It's the explanation to the game is that simple. Were the Leafs the better team in this game? Not really. It was, both teams had their spurts, but it was a very even game. We could have easily been on the losing side of things. Austin Matthews, easily the reason we won. And you know what? As it should be. He just signed a 4-year contract, $13.5 million a season. I believe it's 13.5. That's what you're paid to do. When you're getting paid the big bucks, you're expected to do big things, and you need to be a game changer when the team needs you. And he did exactly that yesterday. He scored his 35th, 36th, and 37th goal of the season. It's only game 42 or 43. His pace makes no sense. He's currently on pace to hitting 71 goals. Not sure if he's going to be able to continue that, but honestly, I don't see why not. The guy can score he scored a backhand yesterday, tied in front of the net. He scored a between-the-legs snipe in the first period, which, again, that was a game-changing point. And he scored from a one-timer on a power play. 3 completely different goals, all of them going in, and with ease. I honestly, there's really not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, the positive is, again, the Leafs are down 2-0. We lose this game, it's really looking like a dire situation because it's not getting any easier. This weekend we got the Vancouver Canucks in Vancouver, who have been one of the best teams in the NHL this season, followed by the Kraken, who just ended their 10-game win streak, and it was against the team who's on a 12-game win streak in the Edmonton Oilers, which we managed to help them continue their win streak. But anyways, yeah, I mean, overall, it could have gone either way, but the important part is they found a way to win. And every point matters now seriously because yesterday the difference between a win and a loss was the difference of being in a playoff spot at the moment versus being on the outside looking in, and it's huge. And it all stemmed again from Austin Matthews, which this is what I've been like begging to see is the Leafs have it's been very hard to have that game changer. You see Nathan McKinnon when we were playing the Avalanche, when the Avalanche needed someone to win them the game, it was Nathan McKinnon. When the Oilers needed someone to win them like you were watching the Leafs versus the Oilers, like Connor McDavid was a factor in that comeback. And tonight or yesterday night, the Leafs needed someone to step it up and change the game. And Austin Matthews did exactly that. And that's it's what we need from guys like that. That's what he's paid to do. He is considered one of the best players in the league, arguably one of, if not the best goal scorer in the NHL right now. That's what you're paid to do. That's what we expect from you. And when it actually gets done, it's magnificent to watch. Because look, if we take away the performance Austin Matthews had this game and we end up losing, that now would have put us on a 5-game losing streak heading into a back-to-back in not on home ice. And the schedule the Leafs have the second hardest schedule on the back half of the season. And it's a huge 2 points. If they can really use this win to clean up their game, because again, there were moments to the games that to this game specifically that it wasn't like we almost blew it. We really almost blew the game if it wasn't for the review team. What a call, man. What a call to decide to. I did not see that. I actually spent 5 minutes following the decision for it to be called off, like called a no goal because of the hand pass. It took me like 5 minutes to watch the exact same sequence and figure out what went wrong. Like, if, for example, if I was a Leafs fan and this happened to Toronto, unless someone explained it to me in like baby language, I'm like, why is this not a goal? I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I don't know what they're reviewing here. It's not offside. There was no high stick. I didn't see a penalty. Why are they reviewing and why is it taking so long? Like, what am I missing here? I think it was Blake Coleman by a fraction deflected the puck with his hand intentionally because he did stick his hand out, and it did change the outcome of the game. Now, the rule in the NHL is if contact with your hand gives you the advantage, the NHL could deem it a hand pass, and you can't do that, and it wasn't a goal because it was deemed a hand pass. What I find absolutely insane is how did you catch that? Like, I was genuinely in awe. The Leafs are 4 for 4 on goal on like challenges this season. That is easily by far bar none. Like that was exceptional. That like they were like, aside from there was Austin Matthews who won us the game. There was also the Leafs challenge crew who were like second star of the game, first star of the game, honestly. Like it was incredible. I don't know how you see that. I mean, hey, that's what you get paid to do. That's your job. And hats off to you because I promise you, myself and many other people watching that game had no idea that anything even went wrong in that play for you to challenge. So hats off to the team. Really huge call because if we blow this lead, because that was the tying goal, it would have been the tying goal to make it 4-4. That would have been our fifth straight game blowing a lead in the fourth straight game blowing a lead in the third period, and it could have costed us again another 2 points, which we have been giving points away recently, and it's huge. It's huge that they found a way to win. Was it the nicest win ever? No. It was a very messy win, if you want to call it. There was points to the game where we looked completely out of it. There was points where we looked completely dominant. Martin Jones looks like he was battling it a bit yesterday, having a more trouble finding the puck. It was just an overall messy game as a whole. But the important part is we found a way to win. And that's what good teams do. They find a way to win when you exactly can't figure it out when you're watching the game. And it all stemmed from Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews won us the 2 points. Austin Matthews ended our losing streak. Austin Matthews got his 4th hat trick of the season, guys. It's game 4. That was game 43 of the season. He has 4 hat tricks. Can someone explain? I just don't understand it, to be honest, at all. I don't know how you do it. It's like, as a hockey fan, whether you love him or hate him, or whether you love the Leafs or hate the Leafs or don't care about them, you have to like acknowledge, like, it's just spectacular. Like, it's incredible what this guy can do when he does things like that. It's like, I'm thinking about it and I can't put words on it. Scoring a complete spectrum of different styled goals all the time. He can score from anywhere. He can score from any way possible. He can do it on his own. He can do it off one-timers. He can score on backhands. He can outright snipe on the goalie. It's But hey, that's why you get paid $13.5 million, and we needed you. And hats off to you for getting it done. I've probably said that about like 5 times, but like, at the end of the day, there's nothing else to talk about. The Leafs very well again could have lost that game, and Austin Matthews is single-handedly the only reason we came back in that and won the game. It's that simple. It's that simple, and that's what great players are paid to do. Now, where do the Leafs go from here? The Leafs have a game against the Vancouver Canucks on Saturday in Vancouver. That is not going to be that's going to be a bloodbath. Not to mention Thatcher Demko's been lights out this season, so we might need Austin Matthews again to do the exact same thing. Hopefully not. Hopefully we can actually have a team game in that one. I thought Nylander, Marner, like the big guys have been showing up. At least in this game. John Tavares, I don't want to lean into him too much, because you can tell he's fighting it, and the team can tell he's fighting it, because after every play, like, you even heard the commentator saying it, after he gets a shot on net, after he wins like a little board battle, but like the puck just doesn't find its way in, you got guys going to tap him at the bench like, hey, John, it's all good. Keep it going. One's going to eventually go your way. This is insane, right? So John Tavares has no points in the last 5 games. That is his longest pointless streak since joining the Leafs. Yes, it's bad, like 5 games without a point when you're getting paid 11 mil, but it's also special that like this entire time, this has been his worst streak. So like, you got to take the good with the bad. Yes, it's a bad streak, but it's a bad streak because we expect him to be so consistent, because John Tavares is so consistent. I really hope he can find a way to break through, and we're going to need him to break through, because he's going to eventually become a factor that can also help us win games. And we're going to need it from everyone. We're going to need it from Nylander, who just signed that huge contract. You can't have a bad game anymore, Nylander. John Tavares, you're getting paid $11 million. You can't have a bad game. Austin Matthews, you're getting paid $13.5 next year. You can't have a bad game. Marner, like, you get where I'm going with this. This is what they get paid to do. This is the structure that the Toronto Maple Leafs have built. We are clearly and heavily dependent and relying on our top 4 guys in our core. So they're the ones who are going to have to most nights get it done, and we cannot afford for any of them to have an off game. It's just, you don't get paid for that. You get paid to show up each and every single night. You don't get paid for a day off. That's what it is. That's what, if you were getting paid $5 million like Bertuzzi, for example, you could have an off game. I prefer you don't, because $5 million is still a lot of money, and we could use that salary cap, but you could have a bad game and I could get over it. If you're making in like 10 million plus, it's not feasible. We literally cannot afford for you to have a bad game. So it's just the type of team that we've built. Is it a winning recipe? Up until now, it hasn't been. It's tough. It's bittersweet, because I truly love the guys on this team. I literally have all of their cards right above my head. I'm not going to move the camera because it's going to make a mess and it's going to screw the sound. But I I love this team. I love these players individually. Like as people, I feel like they've done a lot the the team, for the franchise. I think they've done a lot. They've revived like this young energy in the team. They've brought up some spectacular moments for the teams, like they have for the organization as a whole. Because I don't know if you guys remember, prior to the Austin Matthews, Marner, Nylander era, oh my god, it was hard to watch the Leafs. Like it was, we were like depending on like Chris Versteeg, uh, Leo Komarov, and like, you know what I mean? Like it's tough. Like Jason Blake. Like, do you remember those times? Like the Leafs are in an era where we actually have a competing team, and it's just that's why this recent streak has been so beyond frustrating. Is because like it feels like as a fan, I know that if this era goes wasted, it's gonna be another very long period of time before this team even has a remote chance of doing anything in winning. And that's why the fans, and that's why the media and all of that is so, I guess you can call it intense, maybe at times overzealous and like uh, exaggerated, if that's what you want to say. It's just because this team that we have, maybe not this exact build, but like in this era of like this core, it's been our best chance of winning anything, anything over the last like minimum 20 to 30 years. Like 20 to 30 years. Like my existence. This team, these players are our best chance of doing anything, and it's frustrating that there's so much money invested in such a small group of players, because what that does is you need to rely on them every single game. And I get it, they're the best players on the team. That's what they're supposed to do. But there's going to be games, unfortunately, that they just don't show up. And that's where it pisses the fans off, and it hurts the fans. And it makes us like wonder, like, what are we going to do? Like if Austin Matthews didn't do what he did yesterday, we lost, and there was nothing the team can do about it. We're not going to expect Kelly Arnkrok to get a hat trick. We're not going to go and expect Simon Benoit to be a Norris defenseman. We're not going to expect Max Domi to just change the game. Like, we don't have those players besides the core. So at the end of the day, whoever's on the second, third, fourth, whoever's playing around these guys, yeah, of course, you also get paid. You are also a hockey player. You could very well, like, we need performances from the team. We need team efforts, but to think that the reason that we win or lose won't be about the core is, it's delusional to think about. That's the reality we live in right now. If the Leafs are to do anything, I mean make the playoffs, I mean win a round, I mean win anything in the playoffs, the main reason, the nucleus reason, is the core four. That's it. Because if Austin Matthews, Nylander, Marner, and Tavares don't play well, it doesn't matter what the other lines do. We are not going to win. They need to be at their best game at all times, because that is what you get paid to do. It's that simple. And into the end of the season, into the second half that we're getting into right now, we need these guys to show up each and every single game, because every point matters, and they are the way these four play. And it's unfortunate because hockey is a team sport, but again, the way this team is built is just not like other teams. There's not many teams that are built on this foundation. Like you saw it with the Oilers. When McDavid and Draisaitl don't play well, there's like a 90% chance the Oilers don't win. And now I'm not saying that Zach Hyman won't have a good game, or Ryan McLeod, or Darnell Nurse, or like or Derek Ryan. Yeah, you need the players around as well to play good. But at the end of the day, if the center, the reason the driving, motivating factor of the team is not working, it doesn't matter what goes on around you. You're not going to win. And when those guys are locked in, there's a very high chance that you do win. Look at the Oilers right now. You're going to sit here and tell me that McDavid and Draisaitl are not the driving factor of this 12-game winning streak? That's not to say they don't have other players on their team that aren't helping the streak. Stuart Skinner's been lights out. The team as a whole has been playing better, but that's all starting from their core. And that's what the Leafs need right now. They need that core to really play a 60-minute game. It starts from them. It starts from them. We cannot be expecting guys on the third and fourth line to have to raise the team and put them on their back. Nah, that's not their job. Their job is to play their part, do their role. That's the job of Auston Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, and John Tavares. It is on them. If we get to the playoffs, it's going to be on them. If there's anything to be done in the playoffs, it's going to be on them. And it's that simple. And last night you saw it. The Leafs could do nothing until Auston Matthews decided, you know what? I'm sick of this losing streak. Hop on my back. Let's go and get the win. And that's what he did. It was from that core. Did some players have a good game? Yeah, overall, of course, but there's no point of diving into that because at the end of the day, again, it's the core four that needs to show up. It's excuse me, the star player that needs to and will be the reason that we win or lose games from now on till the end of the season. There's no trade that's going to fix that. It's just how we're built. It's how the Leafs are built. They are very high octane. It's kind of like all of our eggs are pretty much in, maybe not every single one of them, but basically all of the eggs are in one basket. Pretty much. That's the reality. If this core goes lights out, this team was going to be arguably unstoppable. If the core four is not dialed in, any team in the NHL can beat us. It's that simple. It's that simple. Game in, game out, every single game from now to the end of the season, that's going to be the storyline. And that's why I don't want to call it a waste of time, like talking about like what we need to trade for and what we need to, because until the day that this core is no longer together, that's the way it's going to be. That's the way that they want to go with. Clearly, they've bought into these four, and so the rest around is kind of like, do you want some sugar in your coffee? Do you maybe put some cream? Do you want a chocolate chip cookie to go with your meal? But at the end of the day, it's like the coffee and the meal. Whatever else around it is all just kind of dessert. It's nice. It's whatever. But the meal is the meal. That's the team. That's the way it is. And it's a scary thing, because at the end of the day, you also have to recognize the human side of things, where they're going to have games that they're not going to be at their greatest. And that's what's frustrating about it, is because the Leafs literally cannot afford for them to not have a good game. We cannot afford it. We can't afford it. We just can't. Like, we cannot afford Nylander having a mediocre game anymore. Nope. You don't get paid to have a mediocre game. Marner, we cannot afford for him to have a mediocre game. You don't get paid to have a mediocre game. Same goes for Matthews and Tavares. That's what it is. It's that simple. Do I think they're capable? Yeah. Do I think they're going to do it? I hope so. I'm praying. And I think this year's an interesting dynamic. I'm interested to see how they're going to react to it on the back half of the season, because the Leafs are guaranteed nothing right now. We have been very used to and accustomed to having our spot locked in by January, knowing who we're playing, where we're playing, and regardless of how the season goes, whether you're playing 500 or subpar, like we are where we are, and that's where we're going to be when playoffs start. This season, if they don't figure it out, if they don't string together a win streak, some very good hockey into this back half of the season, as we have the second hardest schedule in the league, they're not going to see any hockey come April. There won't be any spot for them in the playoffs. So there's a fire under their ass right now, and they need to find a way to get it done. And it's all going to start from performances like last night from Austin Matthews, where the core and the star players bring us to a win, because that is what they get paid to do. And that's that. I'm going to leave it at that, because now it's on them. It was a good win last night. We end the losing streak. The job is far from done. It's barely getting started. We need to start a winning streak now, and we need our core to lock in and carry this team the way Austin Matthews carried us last night. We need this core to carry us to a playoff spot and to lock it in. And we'll see what happens, but that is going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. The support has been absolutely impeccable lately. So a huge thank you for that. I hope you guys have been enjoying the episodes. We'll see what happens with the boys. I'll see you guys next week. Have an amazing weekend. I love y'all. Make sure to hit that like, drop a subscribe, share it to a friend, do what you got to do, and go Leafs go. See you in the next one.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with That Leafs Fan on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.